With Sonny Gray out the door, Nolan Arenado could be next, as well as Brendan Donovan. A blockbuster mock trade that could change everything. That's next on Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafron, a former national radio sports anchor, born and raised in St. Louis, lifetime Cardinals fan. Welcome into Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Thank you to our everydayers for continuing to be here with us. For those of you who are new, welcome aboard. Hope you enjoy the content. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving you all the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. On today's show, we've got more reactions from the Sonny Gray trade. We'll talk about that in our Cardinals confessions. We're going to start today, though, with a mock draft. Love us some mock, I should say draft. What am I talking about? This is not fantasy football. Mock trade. A mock trade that involves the Cardinals and not one, but two of their biggest trade chips in Nolan Arenado and Brendan Donovan. Now, we've gone through plenty of mock deals so far this offseason. Some of them have been interesting, some pretty far-fetched, and, that's kind of the fun of the offseason when you try to come up with deals with other teams. And this one's actually coming from MLB.com. Anthony Castrovence, writer at MLB.com, national guy. And before I get you the details on this idea, please let it be known that this particular trade comes inside of an article that is listed as the 7 ridiculous trades that we'd like to see. So when you go through them, it's not like all of them make a whole lot of sense for everybody involved, but he's just coming up with different ideas on how to get certain people moved to certain places. So right away, just hearing the word ridiculous inside the title, just know what you're getting into, that you're probably in for a doozy of a deal. And he ain't lying, because he's got the Cardinals involved in a 3-team trade. 3-team trade that includes the Mets and the Mariners, but the Cardinals are at the center of it all, unloading aging veteran third baseman Nolan Arenado and coveted utility man Brendan Donovan. But they are going to separate places. So here is the deal that Anthony has put together. He's got the Mariners getting Brendan Donovan. He's got the Mets getting Nolan Arenado, as well as right-handed pitcher Gerangelo Sainte, I think is how he pronounces it. Mariners number 8 prospect. Sainte, maybe that's what it is, Sainte. The Cardinals in return, which is what we're more concerned with than what other people are getting. Lazaro Montes, Mariners number 3 prospect. He's an outfielder. And right-handed pitcher Camden Lohman, the Mets number 30 prospect. Now, Castrovence starts by saying that cash is complicating factors in this trade, but he wants to try it anyway. The cash, obviously, that he's talking about is the money that is owed to Nolan Arenado, because none of these other people are making any money yet. So that's who he's talking about. Says the Mariners have highly touted prospects Cole Young and Colt Emerson as long-term options in their infield, but Young did not assert himself in 2025. Emerson has yet to debut, and Seattle is clearly in a win-now mode. Donovan, who has the ability to play second or third, fits their immediate need in the infield and is under control through 2027. Seattle and St. Louis could, of course, just work out a swap together. But in this deal, in keeping with our 3-team theme, we're going to use the Mariners to help the Cardinals move some money. Here, the Mets take on the $37 million owed to Nolan Arenado through 2027. And while his bat has sagged, Arenado's glove is a hot corner upgrade for a Mets team that is clearly focused on run prevention, as evidenced by their trade for Marcus Semien, which had a lot of people shaking their heads like, what? I didn't like the trade for the Mets. I thought Brandon Nimmo was a better piece than Marcus Semien on the downside of his career. But if you like guys who are on the downside of their career, New York Mets, say hello to Nolan Arenado. We would love to take him and give him to you. And he continues here, says, to offset some of the financial burden they're ably taking on, the Mets add the intriguing switch pitcher Sente to their system. I believe I'm saying that right. I hope I'm not screwing it up too bad. But anyway, so I guess he throws right-handed and left-handed. That's crazy. Shows you how much I know about that particular prospect. So he continues saying, though, it only costs them money and a flyer of a prospect. I'll be the first to tell you, I don't love this trade for the Mets, but I didn't love the Simeon swap either. At least this move is intellectually consistent with that. It allows Mark Vientos to move to first if the Mets don't re-sign Pete Alonso. And if they do sign Alonso, Vientos is trade bait. The Cardinals aren't getting as much back for Donovan as they would in a more straightforward swap of him, but in this deal, that Arenado money is off their books. Plus, they add the potential power bat of Montes, who could be big league ready as soon as 2026. And in each of these trades that he puts in this article, he puts, who says no? And his answer for this one was everybody, except Nolan Arenado, who is more open to a trade than ever. My initial thoughts on this deal is it's probably a no. It's probably a no. And it's because of Brendan Donovan. It's for the simple reason that he mentions in the write-up that the Cardinals aren't getting what I would deem maximum return for their biggest trade chip in Brendan Donovan. I don't care about the money side of it. That is ownership's problem. I don't. If they have to eat money, so be it. That's on you. I'm more interested in players coming back, guys that I'm going to see on the field, because as a fan, that's what I'm interested in. I'm not an accountant. You made a bad deal and spent money poorly. That's your fault. Not saying that the deal for Nolan Arenado was a bad deal. It just sucks that, it didn't work out quite the way they wanted. But, if you got to offload him by eating some money, then that's what you do. I'm interested about what you're getting back that's going to help my ball club win, and that doesn't really do that much for me. Now, I'll admit the first prospect that they list there is kind of sexy. Lazaro Montes is the 29th ranked prospect in baseball, according to MLB Pipeline. The dude is a monster, 6'5", 210, hit 32 home runs this past year in minor league ball with stops at high A and double A. So I assume he's going to make it up to AAA. He's only 21. He was an international free agent that they were able to sign, which is someplace that, I'm really hoping the Cardinals get better at, is the international market, international free agency. Like, they got to start signing some of these guys that these other clubs get. We need more of them. I know they're doing better, and we've seen some of the names that they are supposed to be lined up with and signing and bringing in. But and Chaim Bloom has talked about it too. Like, international free agency is monster for teams who aren't going to spend big in free agency every year. So helps the farm system. As long as you trust your player development to turn these guys into guys who can help you at the big league level, that's where you go. That's fine with me. But this guy looks awesome, right? Another left-handed bat, though, but, Cardinals aren't really in need of one of those. But he's got massive power potential that is hard to ignore. And it's funny because I was looking at him and I'm like, kind of reminds me of Yordan Alvarez. And then I start going through the scouting report and they're like, gets comparisons to Yordan Alvarez. And I'm like, yeah, he does, because he's got this power potential, big guy, left-handed hitter, doesn't do anything else all that great after that. He doesn't run all that well. He's not a very good defender. Seems like he's going to be a DH or a first baseman at some point. But, you'd love to have somebody who has, more tools in the bag. But when you find a slugger, you say thank you and you move on, right? The second one is a 19-year-old pitcher in the Mets organization, 8th round pick this past year. That's not going to move the needle for me at all, especially when it comes to trading someone like Brendan Donovan, and that's really my biggest hang up here. I want more for Brendan Donovan, and the market seems to be leaning in that direction as well. We're going to discuss what the rumors are swirling about when it comes to Brendan Donovan next on Locked On Cardinals. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium, surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting those tickets, it can be a hassle. You got to deal with the queues. You got to deal with login screens. The prices jumping up at checkout. Hello? Very frustrating. It's why I use Gametime. Ever since I downloaded the Gametime app years ago, it's the only one I use anymore because it is the best. It gives the advantage back to fans. It's fast. It's easy. It's backed by the Game Time guarantee. That means you get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Best of both worlds, right? Plus, all your fees are included, so you don't get those surprise fees at the very end that pop up where, you're paying and you're like, wait a second, what? Wait, did I click the wrong thing? No, you didn't. Some of these places just do that to you. Game Time does not. I pull up my Game Time app in just a couple of taps. You can see amazing deals on your favorite NFL games that are still going on as we start seeing who are the real people and who are not. My Packers, victorious yesterday in Detroit. Loved it. The app makes things super simple for you. It's faster, cheaper, and it's less stressful. So get in on it. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Now, if you enjoy daily Cardinals content, you can follow the podcast on X at @LO_Cardinals. We're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram as well at Locked On Cardinals, so come find us. According to multiple reports, the market for acquiring Brendan Donovan is red hot, possibly even white hot, which I have learned is actually hotter than red. We've heard that he's been drawing a lot of attention around the league as a trade piece so far. We've heard the names like the Astros, the Pirates, the Royals, the Guardians. Those are names that have been brought up by national people. It's not just, us just throwing names up on a wall and seeing if they stick. No, these are legit people who have brought these names up and said that they are interested. Certainly, there's going to be others as well that maybe haven't surfaced yet, but we know that the people like them some Brendan Donovan, and for good reason. We know how good Donnie is. We know how important he could be to a team that is closer to contending for a championship than the St. Louis Cardinals are right now. But the one thing that I do like about this particular situation is the Cardinals aren't backed into a corner right now. They kind of are with Nolan Arenado, right? I mean, they are. Let's be honest. They are. They got to get rid of him. He's ready to move on. The Cardinals are ready to move on. They've made that decision to move on. Some way, somehow, Nolan Arenado is not going to be on this team. He's either going to get traded or, heaven forbid, they just have to cut him and release him, which is not something they want to do. It's something they said they aren't going to do, that's not really an option they're looking for. But if push comes to shove, it might have to happen. It might. But the Cardinals do not have to trade Brendan Donovan. Katie Wu from The Athletic, who's been on the show before, reiterated this, saying if the Cardinals can't find the big return they want for Donovan, the team will pivot to moving at least one of Lars Nootbaar or Nolan Gorman. So lumping Brendan Donovan into a deal just to get rid of Nolan Arenado, it just doesn't. First off, I hate that. But it doesn't seem like the logical thing to do, does it? Again, I'm not worried about the money side of things. That's ownership's problem. I'm worried about what you're getting back in return. We don't really know how bad the market is yet for Nolan Arenado. We know it's not going to be robust by any means. This is not like a hot ticket that teams are lining up to get their hands on what's left of Nolan Arenado. They want Brendan Donovan, though. You've got the age working against Nolan, his contract, declining bat. I still look at Nolan Arenado as somebody that has some things to offer, though. I really do. I go and I look back at players like Evan Longoria and Matt Williams. I mean, those are the ones just off the top of my head. But guys whose skills had clearly eroded but can provide you with some positives. I think Nato still has an excellent glove at third base. He's got the outstanding pedigree of being somebody that you can rely on. He's got a great reputation among baseball, among his teammates over the years, and he wants to win. He really does. It's not like he's just kind of settling back and like, well, I'm getting older, I'll go wherever. No, man, the guy wants to go somewhere and win. It's the bummer part about the situation with the Cardinals is it never got back to the point that it was in 2022. So now we've had 3 straight years of just meh, and he's over it. And the Cardinals are over it. And they gotta jumpstart this thing in a different way. And Arenado is not a part of that future, but we got to find the right fit for him. And we saw ownership show the willingness to eat money to improve the return in that deal for Sonny Gray with Boston, which leads me to believe they would do the same to trade Arenado. But I don't think including Brendan Donovan in the deal makes the most sense for them. I don't like that at all. I'd rather see what you can get without the added negatives of Arenado being attached to the deal, and instead add someone like a Lars Nootbaar in the deal. You mentioned Nolan Gorman. Could you put Gorman and Donovan in a deal together? I don't know who would want both of them at the same time. They kind of, I don't do the exact same thing, but you're talking about two infielders, really. Although Brendan plays outfield too. But anyway, it just, Lars, we know, outfielder only. So something like that. Now, Newt's value, it can't be great right now. Injury-prone guy, inconsistent in his career. He's coming off heel surgery to both feet. Not to say he doesn't have any value, but it's got to be pretty low. We know he's got a great eye at the plate. I'm anxious to see what he does with the ABS system this year, whether he's in a Cardinal uniform or not, because we know how frustrating it's been over the years as Cardinal fans watching Newt up there. And a pitch will be like an inch off the plate and he'll get rung up for it. And we know it's a ball. Lars knows it's ball, but nothing he can do about it. But now he can challenge. So but I feel like he's going to be very, very good at that. So that should help his on-base percentage quite a bit, maybe a lot more walks, which is something that when he's on, he's really good at. But he offers decent defense, got a decent arm, but he's another left-handed bat. And the Cardinals got quite a few of them already. Just looking at their 40-man roster, you've got Jimmy Crooks behind the plate. You got Alec Burleson. You've got Donnie. You got Gorman. You got Newt. You got Victor Scott in center, Cesar Prieto, Nathan Church, Matt Koperniak, Brian Torres. And you're trying to make room for another left-handed bat in J.J. Weatherholt. So southpaws are plentiful right now with the Cardinals, so you can see why moving a couple of these Force assets makes a whole lot of sense. I just don't know how much they are worth to other people. We know that Brendan Donovan is worth a lot to a lot of people. So this is a very important time for Chaim Bloom, who has, he's gotten some solid reviews for the Sonny Gray trade so far by national and local media, as well as the fans. I mean, the overwhelming reception to the trade has been positive. People understood it. I mean, not everybody loves it, and that's fine. But, it's different, though, because we respected Sonny Gray, but he's only here 2 years. We respected Sonny Gray, but he was never one of our guys. As Cardinal fans, he was never one of our dudes, right? Like Brendan Donovan is. Brendan's one of us, right? Came up in the organization. We've seen him grow and become so good at everything that he does. He's a fan favorite. People love him. He's got the flow, which is awesome. Always says the right things. Very polite. Good dude. Has done everything that has ever been asked of him. You want him to hit leadoff? All right. You want me to hit third? Okay. I'll hit lower the order if you need me to. Where do you want me to play? Second, third, short, first, corner outfields. I got you. I'm in. And has been pretty darn good in almost every place you put him. Like, he doesn't kill you anywhere. Like, he'll do what's needed for the team, though. So moving him and not hitting a home run in a deal, that could easily tarnish all the good that Chaim Bloom has built up thus far. So the pressure is really on Chaim. The great part, at least for me, because people will talk about Chaim Bloom's time in Boston and how it didn't work out so well. And at least it's not a situation, and I'm not trying to say Mookie Betts and Brendan Donovan are the same player. I'm not saying that. But obviously Chaim's taken over, and he's got to get rid of some people. And some of these guys are people love. People like Sonny Gray. People like Nolan Arenado. People love Brendan Donovan. So moving on from him, it's not the same as that Mookie Betts situation where ownership is demanding a trade. That's not the case. Chaim holds the power here because he doesn't have to trade Brendan Donovan. He doesn't have to trade Alec Burleson. He's going to listen, and he's going to make a judgment call on what's best for the team in the long run. He has never hidden the fact that the ultimate goal is not 2026. It is building this thing for sustainable success down the road. That's what we're shooting for. we're not trying to sacrifice this year. We're just going to, they're not going to tear it down to where, hey, we can't win. We are one of the worst teams in baseball. They're not trying to do that. They're still going to try to compete, but the ultimate goal is down the road. So he's going to look at offers that people have and either pull the trigger or move on to other avenues to improve the team. This is why you hired him. This is why you hired him. And you put your trust in Chaim Bloom and let him make the judgment calls, and you believe that he's going to make the right ones. So I think most of us appreciate how transparent he's been, how honest he's been with everything that's been going on. It's a breath of fresh air over how John Mozeliak used to explain things to us as the fans and to the media. He's very secretive and used some code and stuff that people are like, I just spit it out. What are you saying? Chaim Bloom doesn't appear to have that problem. He wants to be open with the fans and let them know exactly how things are going to go down and where we stand. And that's where it is right now, where they're going to listen. If something great happens and comes across their desk, cool. We'll look at it, dissect it, see if that is what we need to do to become a better organization overall. If not, we'll move on. We'll find other ways. But one of those trades was the Sonny Gray one that I was surprised it happened as quickly as it did. I'm glad it's over, but we got reactions from that Sonny Gray deal and more coming up in our Cardinal Confessions, which we'll do next on Locked On Cardinals. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Sometimes life, it gets busy, man. Were you able to make kickoff yesterday for the first game between the Packers and the Lions? I'm a Packers owner, and I didn't make kickoff, because we were busy doing things, and sometimes that happens. You miss the start of the game, but with FanDuel's live bets, you can jump right back into the action on everything from who's going to score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, if you're feeling a little extra saucy, you can combine those live bets into a same-game parlay. Gives you a shot at a bigger payout, which is always nice. More money around the holidays, that's a good thing. You might be doing some Black Friday shopping right now, and a few extra bucks wouldn't hurt. Live bets is where it's at. So when you're hanging out with friends, you're watching the game, you got a hunch on what's going to happen. You put that knowledge to work. You can cash in on those hunches with our friends at FanDuel. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. For your second listen, check out Locked On MLB. It's hosted by Sully, brings you a daily blend of humor and baseball throughout the offseason. You can find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Time now for our Cardinal Confessions, where you get to sound off on anything and everything that's going on with the Cardinals. Some are happy, some are sad, some are just concerned. Some people just want to vent. Some want to yell at me for making Richard Fitz jokes. Okay. Some people find it a little juvenile. I do too, but I had to get it off my chest. But I promise I'm going to lay off. I'm going to relax them a little bit more as much as I can. Okay. I'll push the urge to make any sort of jokes down. Okay. But we're a little low on time. So let's get to a few of these and rip through them. See what we got about the Sonny Gray trade reactions, because we got a few of them. Our first one here. I like the trade. You have a possible good middle rotation guy and another guy with exceptional upside. They could both be busts as well, but what did you expect to get for a 36-year-old pitcher showing signs of decline on a ridiculously high one-year contract? I think the return can be possibly great. I feel the same way. You got a guy that you believe that can help you right away. Richard Fitz will go right into the rotation as long as he's healthy. He's a guy that you can put him right in there with a rotation that's already very young and is in need of some arms, because odds are they're not all going to stay healthy. Richard Fitz has not stayed healthy, so we got to keep him healthy too. But you need more arms that can go into that rotation. I'm sure there's going to be other ways that they fill out the rotation this year. But again, Libby, McGreevy, Fitz, Leahy, those are your top four. Palante is going to compete for a spot. I'm sure they're going to give some guys like Bryson Motts, Quinn Matthews a chance to compete for a spot in the spring. I would love for them to sign a free agent. I still like the Dustin May type of fit. We'll see. We'll see what they decide to go with, but I feel like they're gonna at least make one signing. I think in free agency, it's not gonna be a big guy, but it's gonna be somebody on a 1-year deal that's got something to prove. We'll be excited to try to take advantage of an open spot for the St. Louis Cardinals in their rotation right away and help kind of jumpstart that career again. So I think they're going to do that. That's just my gut feeling on it. But yeah, Richard Fitz will come in, and then you get the guy in Clark with the mega ceiling, but needs some development and expert tutelage to get him to that next level. So I thought they did good. I thought they did good, especially if Clark turns out. Fitz can be solid and be a 4 or a 5 in a rotation. You need those guys. Maybe he becomes better. He's only 25, but Clark could be the diamond in the rough there. This one is in regard to the return that they got specifically for Clark. Survey every MLB hitter and ask them, how would you like to face a 6'4" athletic lefty that has deceptive arm action, hits triple digits, and has an elite slider sweeper and has some control issues? Nobody liked facing Al Leiter in his prime. Yeah. I mean, bingo. Getting someone with a unique upside that clearly Chaim Bloom is huge on. If you've heard him in the press conferences talking about him, I was like, he's got as much upside and as much as any other pitcher in the minor leagues from the left side. Like, he loves him. And, that's why he brought Bloom here, is to identify people like that in the first place. So Chaim and his teammates, as he calls them, are the ones that ownership has entrusted with judging the talent, bringing the ones they think can help this organization become great again. 22 years old, so it's not like he's 19 and he's like just, hey, this is like a 5-year project or something. No, this is somebody that if they can, help him with the blister issues that he's had and help him out with his control a little bit. I mean, it's somebody who could fly right through and help you out in the bullpen right away and obviously be a starter possibly down the road as well. Here's another one. It's a solid trade. Got back something you can possibly use right away and something possible for the future. Yes, Clark's future should be in the bullpen. I'm good with that. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to pigeonhole him as a reliever right away, but if that ends up being his role, then so be it. Bullpens are as important as ever with starters having shorter and shorter starts. I mean, we're like, if you get 6 innings out of a starter these days, you're like, oh my goodness. If you can get a starter to throw 100 pitches, oh, wow. But you need these bullpen arms, man. You need these guys who can come in and take care of 2 innings at a time. And if that ends up being what his role is, then great. But they're very important. Bullpen pieces are very important, and they're getting used more and more, not only during the postseason, which you see a lot, but also in the regular season. Sonny wasn't happy with not winning, and he was feeling the itch to go. It sucks to see him go, but that's baseball for you. There will be huge shifts coming. If Chaim Bloom's track record holds true, then he is going to beef up the farm system to future-proof the team. He was never unsuccessful at this, and at this point, I kind of think some big changes need to be made. Yeah, people, as I kind of mentioned before, they pointed that Boston Red Sox situation, and, he got fired. He did get fired, but they look at it as being a failure because he got canned, and you could look at it that way, but you could also look at what he did really, really well. He did succeed at the one thing that the Cardinals are asking him to do, and that's rebuild this farm system. He's also in charge of the trades and stuff, but they really wanted somebody who was really freaking good at building the farm system and helping with player development and finding people that he would trust to make good decisions and find talent and bring them into the mix. He did that for Boston. He just wasn't around to enjoy the fruits of his labor. And I'm guessing he's learned a few things from the situation in Boston to help him do a better job in St. Louis with the other pieces of being the president of baseball operations. My question is that, after this season and hopefully no lockout in 2027, and when they get that labor agreement done, and they figure it all out, like, how's everything going to work? What will ownership spending habits look like then? I'm not saying that I expect them to compete with the payrolls of the bigger markets like the Dodgers and the Mets and the Yankees. I'm not saying that. But will they step up and get back inside the top 10 where they lived for quite a while when the Cardinals were doing very, very well in the last 25 years? Will they be back inside the top 10? Will they pay their guys that they deem worthy? You know, people like Mason Wynn or Ivan Herrera or, JJ Weatherholt. You know, if they continue to become those certain guys, they continue to become like the pillars of this franchise, and they decide to build around those guys, are they going to fork over the money and pay them? I had a discussion with some people on X yesterday, actually, talking about that and how I foresee this all working out in a positive way for the Cardinals. They had questions. They were like, well, if it's got to do more, that you got to sign some people. And I'm like, yeah, you do. But do you have to sign the top of the market guys every time? It's not really how they did it back in the day. They would trade for guys who were about to be free agents and be at the top of the market. And then they would get them to sign an extension while they were still under the Cardinal umbrella, sell them on the team, the town, the winning and everything. And that's how they would keep those guys. But they would trade to get those guys using pieces from their farm system that was very, very good. And then they would have, the guys that they brought up already. They had to make trades to go get Edmonds and Renteria, Larry Walker, Scott Rowland, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado. They made trades to go get these dudes. These guys they didn't come up through the Cardinal system, but they didn't sign these guys as free agents either. They signed them before they became free agents. So that's just how it worked back in the day. But yeah, you got to sign guys. You got to sign the Reggie Sanders of the world and guys to complement what you're already building. So you do have to dip your toes into free agency at some point. But the Cardinals have never been that team that, goes and chases the highest, most expensive guy on the market. They make trades, sign that guy before he gets to that point, which is the, point I was trying to make online. Hard to do it when you're just doing it through characters on your phone, but that's the kind of stuff we talk about on X. So make sure you give us a follow. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio, TikTok, Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. Like, subscribe on YouTube, help our channel, and love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals. Enjoy your week.